Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Den. Michael Kormelos is here with me as always. Ethan Lividitis, unfortunately, not able to make it here with us. He will be back though. But we're coming to you after, probably the biggest NFL trade that we've had in the span of a year. As well as after...
No, not the biggest trade. I think the Goff Stafford trade.
Yeah, I can see it. I just don't know if they have the same name recognition that Julio Jones has had across the NFL over the past couple of years. And a couple NBA playoff series, a lot of them, in fact, all of which have been incredibly exciting. And
all of them.
Not all of which, yeah. Some have been a little disappointing, but we will get into that as well. But to start, Julio Jones traded to the Tennessee Titans. Traded for, what was it, a second and a fourth round pick?
Yeah, and the Falcons and the Titans also got a 6th round pick.
Yep. So, overall, we know the resume of Julio Jones. 128,000. No, 12,000.
Yeah.
I'm reading my notes wrong.
Yeah.
I can't even. 60 touchdowns throughout his career. Has been consistently been a top 5 receiver throughout his entire career. But what does this change for the Tennessee Titans and their outlook on the 2021 NFL season as we steadily approach?
Nothing. In my opinion, nothing. They're just the glorified 2020 Texans. Explosive offense with an absolutely irrelevant and incompetent defense. Actually, this defense might be worse than the Texans' defense last year. Like, at least we had J.J. Watt and Zach Cunningham. They don't have a notable name. Dupree, I guess. I don't know. But when your number one corner is Elijah Molden, I can't name anybody on your defensive line. Harold Landry is fine. Jeffrey Simmons is fine. All your linebackers are mediocre. Secondary is burnt toast, except for Kevin Byard. Once again, offensive line completely irrelevant. Offensive line's completely irrelevant too, except for maybe Roger. Or I meant Taylor Lewan. This team's not good. I still don't think this team makes the playoffs. Regardless of the team getting Julio, they're still going to run the ball to Derrick Henry, more than they should. I don't think this changes anything. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think I would say that it does change a little bit. Just because of the loss of Corey Davis and the obvious impact that Julio Jones would make on any offense, I think, even at the current age and the player he is right now. You have to worry about the injuries that he sustained over the past couple of years. I think it was an ankle injury last year. Only had 774 receiving yards overall. And I think his red zone production as well has steadily slipped off throughout the last couple of years. But he is still definitely, at least a top 10, probably top 5 receiver in the NFL.
I don't know about top 5 right now, but definitely top 10.
Well, we go D-Hop, Diggs,
Adams,
Devontae,
Tyreek Hill.
And are we going to put A.J. Brown over him yet?
I put A.J. Brown over him as of right now.
Okay.
Just with the way that they've no, absolutely not. Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, you get to a point, but
this doesn't change anything.
For me, it will. I think
maybe they win
their offense.
It'll help the offense. Maybe they win another game, but I really feel like the Texans last year is a really good glorified Texans is a really good representation of what this team is. With a worse defense than the Texans had last year.
I guess, but they still have cornerstones. I think we forget. I think, you look at the safety position, having guys like Kevin Byard. You look at the linebacker position. They have
Harold Landry.
I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, Harold Landry.
Okay, but now just if we're just drawing comparison to the Texans last year, you have Byard as comparison to Justin Reed, who's a pretty good safety. I think he's underrated because
Kevin Byard is a top 10 safety in the NFL, though.
So is Justin Reed. Justin Reed's top 15. No difference, your number. They have. I don't even think they have a corner that's good at football. No, at least Bradley
No,
Roby
I mean,
was solid last year. Like,
well, I
everybody,
mean, I don't think they should have cut Adoree', but seeing what he got paid in New York, it's not like I hate that move as much as I did before. I mean, because I would not pay Adoree' Jackson myself.
yeah.
The amount of money that they did. I mean, he's an okay corner, but I mean, when we look at outside of his speed and his obvious ability to be able to compete in, jump balls, his size isn't totally there. His performance in zone coverage hasn't been great over the past couple of years. So I wouldn't have done that personally. But they drafted Farley. I don't think Farley will play very much, if at all.
Christian Fulton and Elijah Molden.
Yeah.
I like Fulton.
Elijah Molden, I like a lot.
I like Fulton at LSU. I don't know about now. I don't even know if he played last year at all, but
Yeah.
I loved him at LSU.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean,
Okay, he got snaps near the end of the season, actually.
Yeah.
So he had an interception against somebody.
I can't say I have complete confidence in this team. I had them winning 9 games before this trade. Maybe I give them 10 more, but I do think that's enough to put them in the playoffs. It's one more, as crazy as that sounds. So, I mean,
Indianapolis.
I think Indianapolis wins
solid offense, solid offense with an elite defense.
I do think
I don't think 10 games is enough to bump the AFC.
No, I meant as a wild card.
Yeah, I know the AFC stack. I don't think 10 games gets you in the playoffs.
I don't know, man.
When you have teams fighting on the brink like New England, Miami, Denver's looking pretty good this year. You have the Chargers.
I don't know about
Chargers.
I have a similar tier. Not the Chargers. I have the Chargers in the tier up, but I have them in the same tier as New England and Miami and the Steelers and maybe even the Raiders if we're gonna go there.
I mean, if you're gonna look at teams, I think that will make the playoffs as the wild card, because you have to win your division, the AFC, or like there's no guarantee. Like the Browns,
there's
fringe last year.
Yep.
So I think if you're looking at the wild card, it's a toss up between Cleveland and Baltimore. Whoever doesn't win the division, you have the Chargers, or hell, I mean, Chargers or Chiefs. It's a toss up who wins the division. I think the Chargers easily come out. I think they have a really good offense and they have a lot better of a defense than Kansas City does.
You think you think the Chargers? Hold on, you think the Chargers win the AFC West?
No. I said there's a chance. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm saying that they could contend for it. They contended for it 2 years ago with Phillip Rivers.
I can't see it, bro. I still think that defense is very injury prone and still has a lot of holes. I think offensively, their offensive line, is very talented in some parts and a lot less talented in others.
Well, the biggest problem they have is gone. The biggest problem they have is gone.
Yeah.
Anthony Lynn is gone. Anthony Lynn's a terrible head coach.
That's completely fair, but I don't know. I do not know much about Brandon Staley, and I don't know what to trust, to be completely honest.
Well, you can know that the Rams are a pretty good defensive team.
That's true.
When you're a defensive coordinator for the best defense in football, But no, so yeah, that's my opinion on all that.
Yeah.
But going back, you have those two teams, the non-winner of the NFC or AFC North. You got the Chargers or maybe Chiefs, if something crazy happens. And then you have Miami or New England. Or all 5 of those teams are better than Tennessee.
I don't know about necessarily. I'm not completely sold on the whole New England experiment. I don't know how Cam Newton's going to be. That defense, they do have a lot of guys who are returning after a post-NFL break, but I don't know how they're going to be and how in shape they're going to be. And Chung retired.
Chung wasn't good anyway the last couple of years, so
he was pretty solid, bro. He anchored that playoff Super Bowl run.
No, he didn't.
He did.
According.
It's fair. The Steelers, I'm not totally sure what to expect after, what was basically a two-phase season.
I gave them 5.
5?
Maybe 6. I don't know. I'll find it on the sheet somewhere.
Really? I mean, they still have a lot of talent, and
but they
overall
also
on that
have
roster,
Ben Roethlisberger quarterback.
I agree.
And Najee Harris, and Najee Harris, I'd be a lot more excited
Harris
about
is great
if he had an offensive line, which he doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought they should have drafted what's his name, Oklahoma's Tevin Jenkins. With that
instead
pick
they drafted,
but
instead they drafted, and they had another chance to draft it, but they drafted what's his name instead, Pat Freiermuth.
Yep. Yep. I mean, they're just like you said, a lot of contenders, and I could totally see Tennessee, winning 8 or 7 games and missing the playoffs by a long shot. Mm-hmm. But I would lean towards caution and picking against that offense, especially at the team that's as similar as it is to last year's. So we will see. But to transition from that, the NBA playoffs, playoff basketball. I got to talk about it a little bit last week, but we are here in the second round now. This is flying, partly because of the NBA's ridiculous schedule. But the series that we are all excited for, Bucks Nets, supposedly the finals, the battle for the finals. And so far it has not been much of a battle. The Brooklyn Nets up 2-0, taking both games at home after an absolute disaster occurred last night at Barclays Center for the Milwaukee Bucks. How are we feeling about not only the Brooklyn Nets finals chances, but Milwaukee possibly choking once again?
Called it. I said Nets in 3. I said it before. I said it before I said it before game 1. I said it after game 1. And Adam told me how they were reacting.
I did.
Now look now you sound silly.
I did. And, I think partly for me it is, my kind of hope that Giannis having the I don't know about depth, but just Drew Holiday's ability to do pretty much everything on the court. And I thought with what that brought late season throughout the NBA season, that would provide something for Giannis to dispel this playoff narrative.
Well, apparently not.
But apparently not, no.
PJ Tucker playing playoff minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, offensively, this Milwaukee offense is completely stagnant. Just having Giannis in this kind of isolation point forward role, and I get that he is probably one of, if not the best pure fast break finisher in the game, and you want to have him isolated on a guy like Blake Griffin and be able to drive, but they haven't really been able to get much done with that I've seen. Yeah. I mean, they're settling for so many threes, and that is not even close to what this team was during the regular season. They were, I think, the 3rd best team in paint offense throughout the entire regular season. They've completely gotten away from that. And for that, I do give credit to the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, the 23rd best defense in basketball has stepped up so much so far throughout this series, and Blake Griffin being the anchor of it with Kevin Durant so far has just been crazy to see. I mean, the hustle and, things that I didn't really see throughout that Boston series that made me somewhat weary of picking them to beat this Milwaukee Bucks team that looks so good in their first round series. And I think it's definitely coming back to bite me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Milwaukee's playing terrible.
Yep.
I don't have words for it.
Yep.
Like, they're awful.
Yeah, I mean
that's all there is.
Yeah, and I mean defensively, we can talk about adjustments to be made, but there's not much to do with this Brooklyn Nets offense that is so astronomical in comparison to any NBA offense that we've had across the past 10 years, just with their star potential. But I expected so much more. Well, yeah.
Totally forgot about that team.
We can count them. We can count them.
DeMarcus Cousins and Steph Curry all on the same team.
Just kind of good. But But even take like 2017 Warriors throughout the regular season, and this Brooklyn Nets team went all on the court at the same time, blew them out of water in all offensive statistical projections. That's why we don't look at stats all the time. They would also tell us that Rudy Gobert is the best basketball player in the world.
No, they would not.
They would, believe it or
The
not.
thought of Rudy Gobert actually being a top 30 NBA player is quite disgusting.
I would say top 30, but I think anywhere higher than that gets a little scary.
Actually, maybe like the 25-30 mark. I don't know, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's an honor to watch this Brooklyn team, just like it was an honor to watch that Golden State team.
So it's an honor to get eliminated by them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we want to transition right with that, the Philadelphia 76ers had a rough one. And there might be a transition somewhat into me talking about game 2.
Update while editing, the Sixers did go on to take game 2. Fantastic performance from Shake Milton, as well as Joel Embiid with 40 points, his new playoff career high. Looked fantastic. Going to continue to be a great series just because we don't know about DeAndre Hunter, but good comeback win. Back to your normally scheduled programming.
But
robots as officials.
Yeah, I mean, this was incredibly
blatantly terrible officiating. I'm not usually one to like I'll mess around and be like, oh, the ref is blind, but I'm not one to like literally like complain about the refs for like over and over again. But like it was just obvious.
Yep.
Terrible calls. I don't know how the NBA doesn't notice this.
I do think they love this Trae Young narrative. And I do think they enjoy, being able to have this kind of young superstar movement with him and with Luka and with Ja, even 2 of them being eliminated, I think that's something they enjoy as we pass through this generation. But at the same time, everybody's going to show that highlight of him bumping into Matisse over and over and over again. Everybody's going to show, yeah, I just, I love what he's brought throughout these playoffs. The perimeter shooting impacts in that Wizard series was just fantastic. But for Doc Rivers to consistently refuse to make any kind of adjustment until the fourth quarter, when it seemed like this game was already out of hand. We were so lucky to have that run. We were so lucky to have that run. Yeah. To not have Ben Simmons on what is, one of the best offensive scorers in our game today, is honestly, completely befuddling. This is supposedly your defensive player of the year who can play guard positions 1 through 5 with ease. Why would you have him guarding off and allow this guy? I think he had 27 points in the first half, like just something absolutely absurd. So it's not something I understand, as well as the all bench unit for 6 minutes of a playoff basketball game. And it's just the kind of things that we've seen from Doc Rivers throughout, all of the Clippers playoffs throughout the last couple of years. The 10-man rotations and the refusal to make adjustments have always been there. And that is why I think so many teams were so hesitant to actually hire him as a head coach. And while it has been a great narrative throughout this Philadelphia season, if he is unable to close upon this playoff series, I think I would expect a huge amount of scrutiny throughout Philadelphia, for sure. So, yeah, we will see with that one. Game 2 tonight. Hopefully this goes a lot better. I know Tony Brothers and Scott Foster are both the refs in this game. Yeah, so that will not. Oh, I didn't talk about Joe. Joe had a fantastic game last game. So hopefully he keeps that up as well. But yeah, segue right into that to the other game tonight that we can preview. Jazz Clippers, and just kind of preview this series. The Utah Jazz coming off a first round victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. The Los Angeles Clippers coming off a 7-game series with the Dallas Mavericks, an absolute battle. What are we thinking here in this matchup?
I like the Clippers, I think. Well, actually, it's hard because, the Jazz, we can call them frauds all we want, but, it's hard. I don't know. It's a 7-game series. It's a toss-up. It's just a toss-up.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who's going to win.
No, I totally agree. My
heart tells me the Jazz just because the Clippers are cursed, but my heart tells me only because I don't think the Clippers can make it.
No, I am still leaning Clippers just because I think this probably is a 7-game series for me, and Kawhi Leonard in a Game 7 has proven himself time and time again. And just throughout the series, I think he will be able to be the best player, between these two teams. But this Utah team just has so much cohesion throughout, especially defensively with Gobert being the anchor. And it looks so fantastic in those 4 games. Royce O'Neal as well. Joe Ingles.
My favorite player.
Royce O'Neal. Yeah. They're just an absolute unit. And, everybody compares them to the 2011 Mavericks. I completely agree.
Yeah. So they don't have the Dirk, though.
Yep, I agree. And Mitchell, having to be able to step up and provide them with the offensive production that he has, I think has solidified him of his, somewhat star status, if that was ever in question. But I still have to lean towards Kawhi Leonard. Having proven himself. I'm not going to say Paul George, even though he did have a good series, just because I'm still wary of that narrative.
Temporarily, playoff P has been moved from Paul George to Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh, no. I feel like regular season P for Kristaps Porzingis was still a problem, too.
It wasn't that bad.
I don't know.
He was
fine. Pretty bad.
No, I think he was bad in the primetime games, but in actual games.
I don't know. That Dallas team definitely has a lot of questions moving forward for sure. Him being, basically converted into a bad stretch 4, being paid $135 million over the next 4 years.
If they just played him the way he was supposed to be played in the post,
I don't think that's even a problem. I don't know if that's even a problem because he just hasn't looked.
Let him shoot in the paint.
He just hasn't looked as strong though as he has throughout his entire career, and even when they're getting him post-ups, it's been a problem. And then on the defensive end, he's just getting flat out bullied with not having the lateral quickness to be able to keep up with guards in the pick and roll. They're just throwing him right in. And that's, we talk about it on this podcast all the time. This is the thing with the NBA today is having, forwards and centers that are able to transition the pick and roll and be able to, switch and all that. That's why Aaron Gordon's been so important to the Nuggets, and Tobias is so important to us defensively. So, he had that throughout his entire New York Knicks career. That was actually one of his strengths. And even last year was fine. But that has completely gone out the window and regressed. I think I saw a stat that over the past 2 years, last year he was minus 16 in defensive points per possession when opponents are on the court. This year was minus 3. That's how far it's regressed. So if he doesn't improve that, I don't know how that Dallas defense, can continue to function. But
I agree. It's unfortunate. I like Porzingis.
I did too. He was.
He could always get better.
He could. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. He is just that great of a talent, and has always been. But it's definitely tough to watch. So then our last playoff series, Suns Nuggets. The Phoenix Suns taking a Game 1 victory last night. Devin Booker with an absolutely fantastic game. Mikal Bridges as well. Yep, as always. DeAndre Ayton just completely posterizing Michael Porter Jr. early and continuing his dominance throughout. What are we just thinking throughout this series?
Ever since
a contested battle.
Ever since that meme came out showing the top 5 picks in the draft, saying some fan bases are really going to regret this. Yeah, Ayton's been unstoppable. He's been amazing. He's been great. I'm happy. I loved DeAndre Ayton in college, and I'm happy he's finally, living up to the expectation.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, the talent was always there, and I think there are still a lot of things he has to work on, especially defensively. But, I mean, being just this agile post-up big man that he's become, and just, I mean, an anchor for Devin Booker and Chris Paul and the perimeter shooting that this team provides throughout has been honestly fantastic. And I don't think you can look at him as a weakness of this team as I might have going into the playoffs, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Denver. Chris Paul, still Chris Paul. I mean, I think I had him as 5th or 6th on my MVP, board, and I'll still.
He's 3rd for me.
Stick to that. 3rd.
I don't mess with those Warnell MVP votes. He didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
He didn't make playoffs. He's not an MVP.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think just the dominance that he had over, the entire league for a month. But I can definitely see Chris Paul. They did not. They did not. That's fair. But yeah, I think Denver, I mean, just not completely having, their number 1 offensive option really being, or number 2, I guess, really being Michael Porter Jr. Is not a strategy for success. Jokic as a playmaker has found himself, unable to do as much. Yeah, just kind of stuck. So they definitely missed Jamal Murray. You can tell.
Yeah.
He was.
I think if Jamal Murray was still healthy, that Denver wins the West with ease.
I agree. I think they definitely do.
Yeah.
But it's hypotheticals. I mean, you can never know. But I think they're going to need a lot more from Monte Morris. They're definitely going to need a lot more from Porter Jr. For sure, especially with his efficiency throughout the series. Even last series has not been great. I think this is just in Phoenix's what?
I love Monte Morris, so
I do too. Yeah, I mean, he was getting buckets after buckets after buckets. These last couple games in Portland.
Yeah, he averaged 15, 3, and 6 in that series.
Exactly.
If they can have him.
Yeah, if they can have him as, just a shot creator throughout that entire series, that completely helps that offense so much because defensively, they're already going to be dominant.
I stand by it that I stand by the fact that he should start at the 2 when Jamal Murray's healthy. It should be Murray, Morris, Porter, ? Jokic.
I think it's hard though, just because, and I think it will be Gordon. I think Gordon will be that question.
Oh yeah, Gordon. Obviously.
I think they get so much out of him coming off the bench and his bench minutes and leading that bench unit as a playmaker and as a shot creator as well. That they'd rather have just a stretch guy in that starting lineup and get that out of him. But I'm not sure. I think
he could easily leave Denver right now and go get what do you call it? Get a playoff. Get like a what am I trying to say? He could easily get a bag somewhere else if he left.
Oh, Monte Morris, totally.
He could be a starting point guard for majority of teams in the NBA.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's kind of the Jeremy Grant theory. It's you have so many young guys who you want to pay. What do you want to do? And adding Aaron Gordon on top of that, who is due for a contract in 2 years, I believe. definitely does not help that situation.
They have Morris locked up for 4 years, though.
They do, yeah, yup.
If he was on a 1-year deal, though, I could definitely see a Monte Morris ex Kawhi Leonard team up in Sacramento.
No, I mean, did you say in Sacramento?
Yeah, Kawhi's going to Sacramento. I thought this was accepted. Sacramento's in South California, right? Or is it
Sacramento?
North? I didn't even know Sacramento existed. So
really,
it's north?
I think it's north.
No, it's definitely south. Well, it's mid. It's right at the arch. It's right where the angle part is.
He wanted south, man. Look, I mean, I think the whole thing with the Kawhi thing is just his want, to be where he grew up. I don't know even how much it was really about the Paul George thing. I think as long as they're a consistent playoff presence and they continue
I think Paul George
somewhat win.
A little bit. I think Paul George helped a bit.
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I don't think he expected the performance that he's actually gotten out of Paul George. But
it's not bad. I mean, second round in the playoffs, not bad at all. Considering where the Clippers were,
I don't think it's what he expected. I think for Ballmer, I think with the amount of hype and the LA our way and this retaking town from the Lakers that he supposedly wanted to create. Or not even retaking, just taking. I shouldn't say retaking.
Just taking.
They've never had it. Yeah. That has not become a reality at all, and I think that's tough for them. But at the same time,
they have a chance.
The most famous they've had, and they definitely have a chance right now.
Right now, or if we're just looking at technical, if we're looking technically, LA got eliminated. LAL got eliminated. LAC's still there. So if we're using logic, I'm not saying that the Lakers are worse than the Clippers by any means. I'm just saying. But if you're losing logic by the playoffs right now, the Clippers are the highest ranked team in LA. They're there. Yeah. They're in the second round. The Lakers are eliminated.
I mean, I think it's kind of like
honestly before Braun got there, like the gap between the Lakers just falling and dying in 2011 to LeBron getting to LA, the Clippers were superior. And
they
were very superior.
Yeah, I mean the Kuzma, Alonzo Ingram years, and I mean the Wall Deng, Timothy Mozgov, post-Kobe years.
And just the fact that they had three. You want to say two superstars and a star.
Yeah, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. I mean that's a great era, and I think even though they might not have the same fan base that the Lakers do, I don't think it's like the Nets where it's so much of a disparity. I mean, they are kind of a joke, but I don't think as much of a joke in which they're completely disregarded like Brooklyn is in the city of New York.
They should just go like San Diego.
Yeah, they should.
Or Colorado Springs.
Yep. That would be Colorado Springs, East Rutherford.
Where's some other cities? Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Clippers.
Tampa Bay. Vegas. Vegas is
Vegas is where the Warriors for the Vegas. No, it is building new stadium. Okay, never mind.
Seattle. Seattle Clippers.
No, Seattle's getting Supersonics back. I thought.
That's true.
Actually, I don't think they can take the name Supersonics.
Why not?
Oh, because Oklahoma City is technically the Supersonics.
No, they can definitely.
Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma City would have to move back to Seattle, and a new expansion franchise would have to go to Oklahoma City in order for them to get the naming rights. I'm not sure though, because
could they just be the Seattle Sonics? They could be the Seattle Sonics.
That would suck,
though, right?
That would suck, though.
Yeah, I think that's
because it's copyright.
Copyright. Yeah.
They're technically taking the name from them.
Yeah. But the NBA owns the copyright, though, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Seattle Supersonics are coming along with the Vegas Aces.
Yeah, it's not great.
And then Memphis and New Orleans are getting moved to the East.
I don't really get the Vegas craze. I don't really get the Vegas craze.
Big market.
It is a big market. I don't know how many fans
Insanely
they actually
huge
get,
market.
but
Well, imagine all the drunk people rolling in on a Sunday night to a Raiders game.
that's true.
Can you imagine now every day they'll be there, just rolling into athletic games and Clippers games or whatever.
The A's thing really sucks to me. I feel really bad for Oakland in the A's situation.
They have
just because they've been there for so long.
Well, they were not respected by Oakland at all. They played in the football field.
Yeah, and I think them
Wait,
not
no,
being
never mind.
willing to change it.
Raiders played on a baseball field. Never mind.
Yep.
I was confused for a second.
Yep.
It's the amount of people I've seen get injured when they get from the transition from the grass to the dirt.
Yep.
Everyone's like,
not good. Yep.
It's the ACL.
That and the Giants Stadium were probably the two worst stadiums. And I'm going to say how the Giants haven't replaced their stadium.
Because they don't want to move to New York.
That's true.
It's cheap to maintain the stadium there.
Yeah.
And it's iconic. A Super Bowl's been played there, so it's iconic.
Yeah. Eli, that era.
Yeah, Eli. They beat the Giants. They beat New England twice.
Yep. Crazy as it sounds. But yeah, just to finish up, you wanted to say something about Tom Thibodeau?
Oh, respect to Tom Thibodeau winning Coach of the Year.
Yep. That Knicks team. Yep. That Knicks team totally overachieved. I mean, I had kind of a hope that Monty would win it personally, just because, I mean, the work that he's put in Phoenix and the rise of that team. But definitely props to Tom Thibodeau for sure. And
I would also just like to bring some NFL talk in real quickly. That a recent headline came out saying Texans already impressed with new quarterbacks Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills. So, they take that for what it's worth. I'm just happy,
I will believe the Davis Mills thing when I see it. I'll say that much.
Tyrod Taylor,
we get those reports all the time.
Share with the younger guy, younger quarterback, younger whatever position it is, and I can share it. You have to each and every day bring your A game and your best self in building and go out there and lead by example. Everything else will fall in line how it's supposed to. So
that's Tyrod Taylor?
That's Tyrod Taylor talking about Davis Mills.
Yeah, I don't know. I told you last time, he is still a 4th round pick in my eyes and the QB. What was it? The QB 9 on my board? Yeah, QB 9. So when I see it, I will believe it, but we got some time till then.
I don't think he's terrible.
We'll see. I've seen worse tape. I've seen better tape.
Yeah, we all have. He's not the best, but I think he's a developmental prospect. And so is Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes is a 1st round pick. Patrick Mahomes
Josh Allen
was a lot less developmental. Josh Allen was a lot less developmental.
Are we going to pull up his stats from the last 2 years so we can see who was a lot less developmental?
Sure. I mean, college football stats don't really matter.
I'm talking about Josh Allen's first 2 years of the NFL. Okay. That development.
Yeah, that's pretty developmental. I agree with that. Hey, the rushing. Pull up the rushing stats. Yeah, but
people who say the Texans are going to go 1-16 don't know football.
Yeah, you're right. I said you're going to be 2-15.
Yeah, second pick in the draft, Kayvon Thibodeau.
Nah, that's the 1st pick in the draft.
Jets
the Lions won more games than you.
The Lions and the Jets, I think, will have a higher pick than us. Lions will take Howell. Jets will take Thibodeau or Stingley, and we will get whichever one they don't take. Plus whatever pick compensation we get for trading Deshaun Watson.
We're not giving up on Zach Wilson yet.
Oh, why would we? You don't give up on a quarterback after 1 year. Mr. Tua is a bust.
That's not Tua as a bust.
You called Tua a bust.
I never said that. Never said that. I said Tua will need a lot of development for him not to be considered a bust at the end of this year. That's it. But we will see. I think that's all we got. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back soon, of course, with more NBA playoff talk. NFL, I mean, depending on what happens, it's always here. But yeah, thank you guys, and as always, fire high Roseman.
Keep high Roseman. I like the memes.